Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Now, one of my jobs for restoring over the last year has been a wiring. In fact, I've got a couple of these to rebuild, and the main problem with wirings is finding parts, which is why I haven't actually done any sort of upcoming videos on them, because I'm still searching for parts. There's so many bits to it and so many bits that get lost. So today I'm just going to show you one bit that it can't be bothered to find, so I thought I'd just rebuild myself. Now here we have a wiring which has the two tiny little front guns on it. And now these you can find, but they are ridiculously expensive for what they are. They're just two tiny bits of plastic that pop into place. So I thought I would see about making my own versions of these using some bits that I have in my toolbox. My initial thought about these little prongs when I was looking at them is that they are just a little bit of plastic, slightly tapered at one end, and they look a lot like Lego. And if you've watched my previous sort of fix-its and rebuild videos, you'll know that I use Lego quite often. So quick look in my toolbox, and I found my favourite piece, which I've used for a lot of restorations. If you watch my videos on fixing TIE fighters or fixing Action Man, you'll see that I use these Lego lances a lot. They are a pretty good match on colour, as you can see there, and although they're not tapered, I think we can make something quite nice out of those. So luckily I have a few of these in my toolbox, or the ends of lots of them, because I generally use this bottom bit. So I've got the ends here which I can use. If you look at the very front of the wiring, you can see there are two holes, and that's where the little front guns pop into. Now, another useful Lego piece are these tiny little sort of pegs that you use from Technical Lego. Now, again, looking at this, it seems that they are pretty much the right size. If I just pop that in there, you can see it actually fits in that hole quite nicely. It is a little bit loose, but I think we can fix that. So I think a combination of Lego lances and these tiny little pegs, and we can make something that's going to work and look quite a good replacement here on the front of this wiring. As with all Lego, generally they all fit together. So using these pegs, you can see here, this is one that's got a little cross point at one end and the normal sort of peg bit at the other end. This lance should fit in the end of it, which it does. So I reckon what we need to do is I'm going to chop off a section of this lance, stick it into the end of one of these, and then we should have something that looks roughly like a gun. So just using a pair of plastic cutters, very easy to cut this plastic, just cut them to, well, I'm sort of reckoning it's going to be about 3 centimeters, but I will measure it against the original one that I've got to make sure that it looks about the right size. I'm not going to bother showing you how I do this, because it is essentially cutting 2 bits of plastic and gluing it in. As you can see here, this is what I've managed to come up with. Now these look pretty good, they're about the right length and they do fit in. They are loose though, so I think we're going to have to add one slight extra modification to this to make sure that they sit in and tug snugly in the front of the wiring. If you've watched my videos before, you'll also know that I use an awful lot of O-rings. So I have this big box of various size O-rings, and right at the back here we've got some very tiny little O-rings which should just about fit over this bit of Lego. So I'm going to carefully pop this over and roll it onto the very end of the bit of Lego, because what we want is something that's slightly larger at that end. That looks quite good. So now we can see if this is actually going to work at the front of the wiring. So now we've just got to slot these guns into the front section. Unfortunately, you can't actually push these in because the O-rings are slightly too big. But if you just undo the 4 screws on the front section of this wiring, you don't have to undo the whole ship. You can then unclip it enough that you've got access to the front. And I can now just drop in these little guns like so, push them down. They seem to hold pretty firmly and no longer wiggle about. Let's just drop that one in there, like so. And if I put the front of the ship back together, you can see they're actually quite convincing guns there. So if I screw this ship up, I will show you these and do a comparison between these and the original ones. And so here we have the two wirings. On the right here, these are original guns that will cost you a fair bit if you try and buy them. And on the left here are my replacement ones made out of a few bits of Lego. As you can see, they actually don't look too bad. I think for display purposes, I'm going to be pretty happy with having those there. They look pretty good. And it's only if you look really sort of front on that you can see there's other bits of Lego involved in there, but otherwise it's pretty hard to spot the difference. So I think that's a pretty good sort of replacement method for making these front guns. Obviously it'd be nice to have original ones, and you can get some reproduction ones which are pretty good, but if you're just going to have a lot of ships on display like I do, I think this Lego method works pretty nicely. So I hope that's been of interest, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter and Facebook.